A recent survey of NHS mental health staff found that 75% of us describe our jobs as highly stressful. Not surprising, maybe. Demand is at an unprecedented level and is outstripping the pace at which resources have come into the system. The alternative to internalising this unprecedented level of demand and that turning into our own sort of burnout and depression is that we turn and face these challenges together.
Ordinarily, you would have 20 staff in one team. Very few times throughout the year will those 20 members of staff come together.
It's good to get the whole team together, not just individual smaller teams inside of a whole department, especially if they work across different sites and if they work on shift patterns. So you incorporate the whole team, not just the odd few members that turn up to every team meeting. But it's good to develop skills and get things together and produce ideas.
Quite often teams work together without perhaps always needing to communicate. So what it does is it kind of helps to break down barriers.
So the good news is that 90% of us in the NHS describe ourselves as working in a team. 50% of us say that our teams aren't working effectively, that we don't have clear objectives and that we don't get together regularly to review our performance. In teams that aren't doing these things, we see higher rates of injury for staff, higher rates of staff stress, and even, if we look at this in an acute hospital setting, higher rates of patient deaths.
Having a strong team is critical. Successful teams get the importance of investing in staff. If people don't have a vision, they don't know what they're working towards.
It shouldn't be about, catching up with mandatory training or just having endless people come in and giving presentations.
It's always a good idea to avoid things that just are passive, where people just sit in a talk tat, for example, for long periods of time.
Team development days definitely need to be more about listening than telling. These can't be a place where we're just promoting some top-down messages. It's about creating space in which we can think together.
It's really about having that headspace, going out there, interacting with the rest of the team, getting to know people that you work alongside and understanding your role within the bigger picture.
It should be about a particular task that is going to deliver something really meaningful for that team and the patient care that they deliver.
All of these team development days are likely to be different because different teams have different needs at different times.
There are many different things that teams can achieve on development days.
They should be reflective. We should be looking at learning from those reflections.
It's time away from the clinical space where the wards or the crisis team, the community teams come together and they talk about aspects of their service. They talk about the good, the bad and the ugly. What we try and do in our away days is paint a vision, so we have a mission statement.
So some of the activities could be getting to know the team better so that they work more effectively. It could be looking at the tasks and roles within the team to define them more clearly so there's less role ambiguity.
Although these days are time out with a purpose, they're about doing something important, they can also be fun and they can be things we can get excited about. There are a number of elements to effective teamwork. The first is for the team to be able to describe an inspiring purpose for itself that puts the patient at the centre and that everybody in the team is able to describe. And that this inspiring purpose is translated into 5 or 6 key objectives. The team needs to have the right people in it with the right skills and qualities and values. Size is important, so we know that if we get above about 8 or 9 people, it's much harder to create the conditions of effective teamwork. There needs to be a positive and supportive atmosphere. And crucially, the team needs to meet regularly to reflect and plan together. And where this doesn't happen, we see a 25% drop in performance of the team.
They They can be supportive because you get to know other team members and what their roles are and just finding out a bit about them. You wouldn't get that opportunity just by on the phone or just having an email. It's nice to have that personal touch and meeting everybody. It makes for better working.
Team development days are one way in which we can create that time together to review our work, agree our goals and assess our performance against those.
It gives us some headspace. We get away from that really busy environment so we can actually sort of really think and reflect upon things.
I want people to engage with it. If it means having some difficult conversations, if something's not working on the ward, then we'll get in a circle and we'll have these conversations.
We really need to think about including carers and service users in those days. And there's a variety of different ways where that can happen that would develop team understanding of and recognition and reminders around what people are doing, why they're doing it.
We should give consideration to whether our team days, or some of them, could include what we might call the wider team, the team of service users and carers, because that can really help dialogue and interchange and focus us on what's important in our task.
This is actually a community. It's not a them and us. It's breaking down those barriers. So if you go back into the corporate services, is reminding them as well.
Today we had one of our service users, and that was a hugely poignant and deeply moving session that we had, very interactive session. I think that just helps me and the team understand our role within Sussex Partnership.
The Trust recognises the value of team development days.
We're committed to every team having 2 team development days each year.
And it's such a valuable opportunity that can put quite a lot of pressure on team leaders especially. They think, what on earth am I going to do to fill this time?
One of the things that we've done this year that we've done differently is we've delegated this down to our Band 7 team leaders, and they said to us as part of their reflection on the day and the plan, and they said, just make it fun please. And we said, okay, we'll hand it across to you guys, you organise it, and we'll give you the key theme and see how we go from there. So that seems to have got more people involved and more interest up.
There are some possible barriers to getting these days up and running in our teams. And the first of these could be around how do we justify the money and the time that we need to spend on this. There's a really strong argument that this is a good investment and that we can't afford not to do it. Another challenge might be that we feel we don't have the skills in our team to plan and organise these days and run them.
There are 25 organisational development practitioners that have been trained within the Trust. I'm one of them. We can help people, team leaders, to think about what it is they're really trying to achieve, and we can also help by providing facilitation.
Or might there be a neighbouring team that we could link up with?
We've seen shrinking violets grow into really confident people.
Having a strong team highly impacts on the care and the services that we provide.
The service users that you serve, they will benefit from having a much stronger, cohesive team that knows what they're doing.
This is a fresh chapter. This is a new opportunity to work closer together. It's a movement, and we're going to walk side by side, and if it ever hits the fan, then we'll be stood side by side. And when we do celebrate, we'll celebrate together, because it's a team game.